Beloved, let me tell you something. You cannot underestimate a woman who has learned the sacred art of solitude. She is not lonely, she is loaded. She is not abandoned, she is anointed. She is not rejected, she is reserved for something greater. When a woman learns to sit in the quiet, she begins to hear the voice that the noise tried to drown out. She learns that her value is not in the crowd's applause, but in the whisper of God's confirmation. She is not wasting time, she is investing it. Every hour alone is a seed planted in the soil of her destiny. You see, the world fears such a woman because she is not easily swayed by flattery. She doesn't need your attention to feel important, and she doesn't need your validation to move forward. She has learned that her strength does not come from what is around her, but from what is within her. When she walks into a room, she doesn't need to announce herself. Her peace does the talking. Her confidence is not loud, but it's unshakable. She's been through storms and learned that solitude was the shelter that kept her sane. Don't misunderstand her silence. It's not weakness, it's strategy. She's not avoiding people, she's avoiding distractions. She is building vision, she is sharpening discernment. She is becoming the woman she was born to be. So be careful how you handle her. A woman who has been alone with God is dangerous to every plan of the enemy. She's dangerous to insecurity. She's dangerous to mediocrity. She's dangerous to anything that tries to limit her destiny. And when she comes out of that secret place, she's coming out with fire in her eyes and purpose in her step. There is a power that can only be forged in the furnace of solitude. We live in a noisy, busy, overcrowded world that tries to convince us that constant interaction equals significance, that being surrounded by people equals progress. The truth is, some of the greatest breakthroughs are born when no one else is in the room. Solitude is not the absence of activity, it is the presence of intentional stillness. It's the space where distractions are silenced and destiny gets louder. When a woman chooses to spend time alone, she is not retreating out of weakness. She is advancing into deeper strength. She is pulling away from the clamor of voices that want to tell her who she is. Instead, she is leaning in to hear the one voice that tells her who she was created to be. You see, strength is not built when life is easy, people agree with you, or when applause is loud. Strength is built in those quiet hours when you wrestle with your own thoughts, confront your own fears, and challenge your own excuses. Solitude forces you to face yourself, the real you, without filters, without masks, without the performance that so often hides our insecurities. It is in that stillness that you learn to fight battles in the unseen realm. Battles that no one will ever applaud you for, but battles that will make you unshakable in the public arena. Think about it. The greatest leaders, the most powerful women of faith and influence, were all tested in seasons of solitude before they stepped into their assignment. Before the crown comes the cave. Before the platform comes the wilderness. Before the victory dance comes the lonely midnight hour when you cry out for strength you do not yet have. Those moments are not wasted, they are sacred. They are the hidden gem where your spiritual muscles are built. In solitude, your ears tune differently. The voices of doubt, the noise of the crowd, the whispers of comparison, all of them begin to fade. And in that fading, you begin to hear the steady rhythm of your own heartbeat and the unshakable voice of God speaking purpose into your soul. You begin to remember who you are without the pressure to impress. You remember what you were called to do without the competition clouding your vision. You remember that you were created with intentionality and that your strength does not depend on the company you keep, but on the Creator you serve. Here's something solitude will teach you: strength is not always about moving fast or making noise. Sometimes strength is about standing still, holding your ground, and refusing to be shaken no matter how loud the storm gets. Solitude teaches patience, and patience produces endurance. A woman who learns endurance cannot be easily manipulated because she has trained her spirit to wait for the right time, the right opportunity, and the right move. When you are alone, you are not being overlooked, you are being developed. You are learning the rhythm of your own soul, discovering what drains you and what fuels you. You are learning the discipline of prayer without an audience, of worship without a stage, thinking without someone else's opinion crowding your mind. In that space, you are cultivating a strength that does not need a crowd to stand tall. The danger of always being surrounded by noise is that it can mask your weaknesses. People can prop you up, flatter you, and keep you distracted from the areas that need healing. But solitude strips all that away. It brings you face to face with the truth. And truth, while uncomfortable, is what truly sets you free. A woman who has been refined in solitude has no need to fake strength. She walks in the kind of strength that has been tested, proven, and fortified. Do not confuse solitude with isolation. Isolation is when you withdraw in fear, bitterness, or despair. Solitude is when you withdraw in faith, intention, and purpose. Isolation drains you. Solitude fills you. Isolation hides from growth. Solitude invites growth. One is running away, the other is stepping aside to prepare for what's coming next. In solitude, your prayers go deeper because there is no one to impress. Your thoughts go higher because there is space for them to soar. Your heart grows stronger because it is learning to lean on a foundation that does not crumble when people come and go. Solitude builds a quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself because it has already proven itself in the secret place. And let me tell you something. When a woman has built her strength in solitude, she becomes dangerous in the best way. She becomes dangerous to insecurity because she knows who she is without anyone telling her. She becomes dangerous to fear because she has learned to face it without backup. She becomes dangerous to the enemy's plans because she has sharpened her spiritual sword in the quiet hours of prayer and reflection. There is a reason why warriors train before the battle, why athletes prepare before the game, why musicians rehearse before the concert. The preparation is not wasted time. It is the foundation of victory. In the same way, solitude is not wasted time for a woman. It is her training ground, her strategy room, her private war room where victories are won before the fight even begins. If you see a woman who has been alone for a season, do not pity her, respect her. Do not assume she is weak or forgotten. Understand she is in the making. Her silence is not emptiness. It is a sign that she is being filled with wisdom, clarity, and resilience. And when she steps back into the public eye, she will carry an authority that cannot be bought, a strength that cannot be shaken, and a peace that cannot be stolen. Solitude builds strength because it forces you to discover your source. It strips away every false dependency until all you have left is the truth, and that truth becomes your foundation. Who has walked through solitude with purpose walks into her future with power. She is not easily swayed, she is not easily broken, and she is not easily distracted. She knows the value of silence, the weight of vision, and the cost of destiny. So if you are in a season of solitude right now, do not despise it, not rush it, do not try to escape it. Lean into it, listen in it, grow in it. Because one day you will look back and realize that it was in that very season, the quiet, the alone, the hidden, where your greatest strength was born. Silence is not ignorance. Silence is not passivity. Silence, when handled correctly, is strategy. It is a weapon that disarms the enemy without you having to throw a single punch. It is the art of saying nothing while letting your actions, your peace, your progress do all the talking. There is a time to speak and a time to stay silent. The problem is many people mistake every moment as a moment to respond, to explain, to defend. But when you understand the power of strategic silence, you realize you don't have to answer every accusation, react to every insult, or prove yourself to every skeptic. You can stand still, keep your mouth shut, and still win the war. When a woman has learned the strategy of silence, she becomes unpredictable to her enemies and unshakable in her purpose. She no longer wastes energy trying to change minds that are already made up or trying to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding her. Instead, she focuses her energy on building, preparing, and moving forward. She knows that sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is no statement at all. Silence is the language of the wise. It says, I don't have to tell you what I'm going to do. I'll let you see it when it's done. Strategic silence is knowing when the conversation is over, even if the other person's still talking. It's knowing when to walk away from the argument that would cost you your peace. It's understanding that not every battle is worth the noise. Some are won by simply refusing to engage. In the silence, you learn to listen not to the voices of doubt, but to the whispers of divine instruction. Words can be manipulated, twisted, and taken out of context. Silence cannot be misquoted. It keeps your plans secure until they are ready to be revealed. A strategic woman understands that not everything should be shared and not everyone should be trusted with what she is carrying. There are dreams that must grow in the dark before they can stand in the light. Do you know why silence is so dangerous to the enemy? Because it creates uncertainty. When you are talking, they know your next move. But when you are silent, they are left guessing. The enemy thrives on reaction. If he can provoke you, he can predict you. But when you refuse to react, when you keep your composure, when you withhold your words, you keep the upper hand. Strategic silence confuses the adversary and protects your peace. Woman who understands this will stop wasting her breath on people who are not listening, stop revealing her vision to people who will only criticize, and stop explaining herself to people who have no intention of understanding. She knows that silence in the right moment can be louder than any argument. Silence is also a teacher. It teaches you patience, the ability to wait for the right moment to speak or act. It teaches you discernment, the wisdom to know when your voice will make a difference and when it will be ignored. It teaches you strength, the self-control to hold back when your flesh is screaming to respond. Strategic silence is not about being voiceless. It's about choosing when your voice will have the greatest impact. In the business world, leaders understand the value of not revealing all their moves at once. In the military, generals do not tell the enemy their battle plans. They move in silence until the time is right to strike. In the spiritual realm, it's no different. The battles you fight in prayer, the decisions you make in your heart, commitments you form in your mind are all part of a strategy that doesn't need to be broadcasted to the world. Sometimes God will deliberately take you through a season of silence because he is developing something in you that must be hidden for now. Think of seeds in the soil. They are buried unseen and silent, but that silence is not stagnation, it is transformation. Roots are growing, foundations are strengthening, and life is forming, all in the quiet. When the time comes, what has been cultivated in silence will break through into the open, stronger than if it had been exposed too soon. Many people fail because they announce their plans prematurely. They talk too much too soon to the wrong people. And when opposition comes, they are caught off guard. But a strategic woman keeps her circle small and her mouth even smaller when it comes to certain matters. She knows that her destiny is too precious to be left vulnerable to the wrong ears. Strategic silence also gives you the opportunity to observe. When you're not speaking, you're listening. You're picking up on details others miss. You're discerning motives. You're watching patterns. You're learning where the open doors are and where the traps are set. Silence allows you to see what noise would have distracted you from. And here's the beauty. When you do choose to speak after a season of silence, your words carry more weight. They are not impulsive. They are not reactionary. They are precise, purposeful, and powerful. People will listen because they know you don't waste words. Silence does not mean you are uninvolved. It means you are intentional. You are choosing the higher ground. You are refusing to be baited into pettiness, drama, or distraction. You are prioritizing your assignment over your emotions. Strategic silence says, I know my mission, and I refuse to waste my energy on anything that does not advance it. And let's be clear, silence takes discipline. It's not easy to keep quiet when you feel wronged, when rumors are spreading, when lies are being told, or when you feel overlooked. Silence is often the loudest declaration of your confidence. It says, I am so sure of where I'm going that I don't have to prove it to you. It is a declaration of faith that your results will speak for themselves. A woman who has mastered the art of strategic silence cannot be easily manipulated because she is not addicted to the sound of her own voice. She is not desperate for attention. She is not in a rush to be understood. She is anchored in the knowledge that what is meant for her will come to her, and she does not need to fight for it with words. So the next time you feel the urge to respond, remember silence can be the sharpest sword in your arsenal. It cuts through noise. It protects what is valuable. It positions you for victory. It turns the focus from your words to your work. And most importantly, it allows the truth to reveal itself in its own time. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the harnessing of it. When you master strategic silence, you move differently, you think deeper, you plan smarter, you execute with precision. And by the time the world hears from you, it's not just noise, it's impact. One of the greatest freedoms a woman can ever experience is the moment she realizes she doesn't need external validation to define her worth. Till you get there, you will find yourself chasing approval like a thirsty traveler chasing a mirage in the desert, always running, always reaching, never satisfied. The truth is, if you don't recognize your own value, no amount of applause, likes, compliments, or attention will fill the void. Validation is internal. It's the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing who you are, even when no one else notices, celebrates, or affirms you. It's the quiet assurance that you were created with intentionality, equipped with purpose, and crowned with dignity before the foundation of the world. That means your worth existed before anybody's opinion about you, and it will still stand after their opinion changes. The danger of depending on others for validation is that people are unpredictable. Today they love you, tomorrow they ignore you. Today they cheer for you, tomorrow they criticize you. If your value rises and falls with their approval, you will live on an emotional roller coaster, and your peace will always be in someone else's hands. That is not stability, that's slavery. When validation is internal, you don't need the crowd to tell you you're doing well. You already know. You don't need constant reassurance to keep going. You don't need someone's permission to believe in your vision. You have a self-awareness and self-acceptance that makes you unshakable. You can walk into a room full of strangers and still stand tall because your confidence is not rooted in recognition but in identity. Internal validation is not arrogance, it's security. It's not thinking you're better than others. It's knowing you don't have to compare yourself to others. When you validate yourself, you remove the power from anyone who would try to define you through their limited perspective. You no longer have to contort yourself into the version of you they prefer because you are grounded in the truth of who you are. A woman who understands this is free from the exhausting cycle of people pleasing. She's not dressing for the approval of others. She's not posting for attention. She's not saying yes to every request just to be liked. She has learned the art of saying no without guilt and yes without fear because her decisions are rooted in her purpose, not in her need for applause. Think about it. If your worth depends on someone else noticing it, you are giving them the keys to your identity. And if they have the keys, they can lock or unlock your sense of self at will. But when you lock your value deep inside yourself, no one can touch it. They can reject you, misunderstand you, or walk away from you, but they cannot take away your worth. This kind of internal validation comes from doing the work on yourself in private. It comes from affirming yourself when no one else is there to clap. It comes from looking in the mirror and speaking life over yourself until your own voice drowns out the voices of doubt. It comes from embracing your flaws as much as your strengths and refusing to let either define your limits. And here's the truth. If you don't validate yourself, you'll forever be at the mercy of those who will use your need for validation to manipulate you. Some people can sense when you are desperate for approval, and they will dangle it like bait to control your actions. They will make you work for scraps of affirmation, and you will exhaust yourself trying to earn something that should have been rooted inside you all along. When you validate yourself, you take back that power. You don't let the silence of others make you doubt your progress. You don't let criticism make you quit. You don't let someone else's failure to recognize you make you feel invisible. You are so anchored in yourself Belief that their opinions, positive or negative, no longer sway your direction. This does not mean you reject encouragement or feedback. It means you don't depend on them to keep going. Encouragement becomes a blessing, not a lifeline. Feedback becomes a tool, not a verdict. And applause becomes a bonus, not your fuel. Internal validation changes the way you carry yourself. You no longer walk into rooms hoping to be chosen. You walk in knowing you are already chosen. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop over-explaining yourself to people who have already decided not to understand you. You begin to take risks, pursue opportunities, and stand in your truth because you are no longer afraid of disapproval. Woman who has learned to validate herself is unstoppable because she is untouchable in the area of her self-worth. You can take her title, you can't take her value. You can take her position, but you can't take her identity. You can take your approval away. It won't make her shrink. It will only make her shine brighter because she knows her light was never powered by your applause in the first place. The process of building internal validation often starts in pain. It's when the people you expected to support you stayed silent. It's when the ones you counted on to affirm you turned away. It's when you realize that waiting for them to clap was delaying your destiny. And in that moment, you learn to clap for yourself. Clapping for yourself is not just an act of self-love. It is a declaration of independence from the need to be noticed. It's saying, I see my own effort. I acknowledge my own progress. I celebrate my own growth. And the more you practice it, the less you will be shaken when others fail to see you. When validation is internal, you also stop competing for the wrong prizes. You no longer chase visibility at the expense of authenticity. You no longer trade your peace for popularity. No longer sell your soul for a seat at a table that wasn't meant for you. You become content building in silence, knowing that when the time is right, your results will speak for themselves. And here's the beauty. Once you've mastered internal validation, you can truly receive external validation without being controlled by it. Compliments will bless you but won't define you. Recognition will encourage you but won't inflate you. Awards will honor you but won't determine your next move. You will be free to enjoy these moments without being enslaved to them. In the end, the loudest voice that will ever speak into your destiny is yours. If you spend your life waiting for someone else to tell you you're enough, you'll miss the power of telling yourself first. So stand tall, speak life over yourself, remind yourself of your worth every single day, because the moment you decide that your validation is internal, you will walk with a freedom and confidence that no one can take away. There is a language that needs no sound, no volume, no microphone. It's a language that echoes without syllables and shouts without raising a voice. It's the language of peace, real peace. The kind that's unshaken by storms and unbothered by noise, speaks louder than the most persuasive arguments. In a world obsessed with being heard, peace is a rare and powerful presence. Everyone wants to defend themselves, explain themselves, prove themselves. But when a woman walks in true peace, she doesn't have to. She carries a calm that disarms conflict, a stillness that silences chaos, and a stability that makes others wonder where her strength comes from. You see, peace is not the absence of trouble. It is the presence of stability in the middle of it. Anyone can be calm when the skies are clear. Real peace shows up when the waves are crashing and the winds are howling. It's the quiet assurance that no matter what's happening around you, it will not control what's happening inside you. Peace is louder than words because it speaks to the spirit, not just the ears. People can ignore your arguments, dismiss your opinions, or twist your statements, but they cannot deny the effect of your peace. It has a weight, a gravity, pull that demands attention without demanding control. A woman who walks in peace is not easily provoked. She's not quick to clap back, quick to match chaos with chaos. She knows that sometimes the strongest move is to remain calm while everything else is losing its balance. Peace is her shield, her posture, her power. It speaks for her without her having to say a thing. When you have peace, you don't have to explain yourself to everyone. You don't have to convince people of your worth. You don't have to defend every decision you make. Your peace becomes the proof. It shows that you're not desperate, you're not insecure, you're not worried about the outcome because you know who holds it. Peace also has a way of exposing the instability in others. The calmer you remain, the more uncomfortable those who thrive on drama will feel. People who are used to pulling you into chaos won't know what to do when you no longer take the bait. Your peace becomes a mirror, showing them the storm they've been living in, and sometimes that will frustrate them. But that's when you know your peace is working. You cannot fake real peace. It's not just a straight face or a forced smile. It's an internal posture built from trust, discipline, and perspective. You don't get it overnight. You develop it in the quiet, in prayer, in reflection, in letting go of the need to control everything. Peace is not found by eliminating problems. It's found by anchoring yourself so deeply in truth that the problems lose their power to shake you. Peace is also strategic. It gives you the clarity to think when everyone else is panicking. It allows you to make decisions without being driven by fear. When others are scrambling, your peace positions you to see the whole board and make the right move at the right time. This is why people who walk in peace often seem unbothered. It's not that they don't feel the weight of the situation. It's that they refuse to let that weight break them. When a woman carries peace, she doesn't have to chase opportunities. They find her. People are drawn to peace. Leaders want to work with her. Friends want to confide in her. Family finds stability in her presence. Peace is attractive because it is so rare in a world where everyone is rushing, competing, and comparing. Peace speaks loudly in conflict. While others are raising their voices, your calmness becomes the loudest statement in the room. It says, I am not here to fight for attention. I am here to protect my energy. It says, I am not here to match your chaos. I am here to maintain my clarity. This is not passive. It's powerful. It's choosing to protect your inner climate even when the outer climate is unstable. Let's be clear. Walking in peace does not mean you are weak or submissive. It means you are so confident in your strength that you don't have to prove it through noise. It means you know when to speak. You know that sometimes silence and calm are the loudest forms of communication. Peace also requires boundaries. You cannot keep your peace if you are constantly allowing toxic voices, chaotic environments, and draining people into your space. Protecting your peace will require saying no, walking away, and even disappointing some people. But here's the truth. Losing someone who disrupts your peace is never a loss. When you make peace your priority, you stop chasing validation, stop reacting to every insult, stop letting your emotions be pulled in every direction. You begin to move with intentionality, guided by principles instead of moods. Your peace becomes your compass, telling you where to go, who to trust, and when to stay still. A woman who lives in peace carries herself differently. She's not in a hurry because she knows timing is on her side. She's not easily offended because she's secure in her identity. She's not afraid of change because she knows her peace doesn't depend on circumstances. It depends on her perspective. When peace is your language, people will notice without you having to say a word. They'll wonder why you didn't respond to that insult. They'll question why you didn't panic when plans changed. They'll be curious why you're smiling when everything around you is falling apart. Curiosity will speak louder than any explanation you could have given. Peace also positions you for favor. Opportunities often require patience. Patience thrives in an atmosphere of peace. When you are calm, you see possibilities others overlook. You hear instructions others miss. You move steadily toward your goals while others burn out in the rush. In the end, peace is a force. It can't be faked. It can't be forced. It can't be stolen unless you give it away. It is both your shield and your signal. It protects you from being pulled into battles that aren't yours. And it signals to the world that you are grounded, focused, and unshakable. So let your peace do the talking. Let it be your statement in a world full of shouting. Let it be your posture when people try to provoke you. Let it be your anchor when the storms come. Because a woman with real peace doesn't have to prove herself. Her peace has already made the announcement. If you want I can now expand discernment is sharpened in isolation in the same style so your whole series builds momentum and power all the way through. That way it will read like a complete sermon script from start to finish. Isolation is often misunderstood. People see someone alone and assume they are lonely. They see someone withdrawn and assume they are disconnected. But there is a holy kind of isolation, a set-apart season where distractions are removed. Noise is silenced and clarity begins to rise. And in that sacred space, one of the greatest spiritual tools you can develop begins to sharpen discernment. Discernment is the ability to see beyond the surface. It's the wisdom to recognize truth from deception, opportunity from trap, and friend from foe. It's not just about knowing what is right, it's about knowing when and how to act on that knowledge. Nothing strengthens discernment like a season of intentional isolation. When you are constantly surrounded by voices, opinions, advice, criticism, and noise, your spiritual senses can get dull. The sound of everyone else's perspective can drown out the still, small voice of truth. When God pulls you away, when life pushes you into the quiet, when doors close and people fade, your spiritual hearing begins to clear. You start to pick up frequencies you couldn't hear before. In isolation, you begin to notice things you once ignored. You catch the subtle shift in someone's tone. You sense the hidden motives behind certain opportunities. You feel the warning in your spirit when something looks good but isn't good for you. Isolation gives you the space to separate emotion from revelation, impulse from instruction. Discernment thrives when you have room to think, reflect, and pray without interruption. Sometimes God will intentionally remove you from certain circles so that the influences that were clouding your vision can no longer reach you. It's not punishment, it's preparation, because what you cannot discern in private will become dangerous in public. Think of an archer sharpening an arrow. Before the arrow is released into the open air, it must be honed in private. The archer examines it closely, making sure it's straight, balanced, and ready. In the same way, isolation is the workshop where your discernment is tested and refined before you are released into your next assignment. Woman with sharp discernment is not easily fooled. She's not swayed by flattery or blinded by appearances. She sees beyond the smile to the spirit, beyond the opportunity to the outcome, beyond the surface to the root. This level of perception is rarely developed in the crowd. It is developed in the quiet when you have nothing but time to listen and observe. Isolation also removes the pressure to perform. When you are in constant view of others, you can start making decisions based on how they will be perceived instead of what is actually right. But when you are alone, the only approval you seek is from truth itself. And when that becomes your standard, your discernment grows sharper because it's no longer clouded by the need to please. Sometimes, people you thought you needed to survive will leave in this season. And that's part of the sharpening. God will show you who was assigned to your life and who was simply attached for their own benefit. He will reveal the relationships that were draining you, commitments that were distracting you, and the habits that were slowly dulling your spiritual edge. It is in isolation that you begin to distinguish between what feels good and what is good. Discernment teaches you that not every open door is a blessing and not every closed door is a curse. Some opportunities come to derail you. Some people come to delay you. And without discernment, you will embrace what should have been avoided. Isolation also forces you to trust your inner witness. When there's no one around to confirm what you're sensing, you have to lean into your own spiritual radar. At first, that can feel uncomfortable. But over time, it becomes empowering. You start to recognize patterns, sense red flags early, move with confidence, even when you can't explain why. A woman with sharpened discernment can sense danger before it arrives, opportunity before it's announced, and change before it's visible. She's not tossed back and forth by trends or emotions because her decisions are grounded in insight, not impulse. That insight is cultivated in the seasons when she's hidden from the crowd. Don't misunderstand. Isolation does not mean you cut yourself off forever. It means you allow space for your spiritual senses to recalibrate. Even Jesus often withdrew to lonely places to pray. He knew that public power came from private preparation. If the Son of God needed solitude to sharpen his clarity, how much more do we? When you come out of a season of isolation with sharpened discernment, you move differently. You say no faster. You say yes wiser. You spend less time explaining yourself and more time following the inner guidance that has been tested in the quiet. People may not understand your decisions. You no longer live for their understanding. You live by the direction of truth. Discernment is what keeps you from repeating old mistakes. It's what stops you from falling for the same manipulation twice. It's what allows you to navigate new levels without being destroyed by hidden traps. And isolation is the forge where the discernment is refined until it becomes a natural part of how you live. The enemy fears a discerning woman because she cannot be easily deceived. He knows her eyes are open, her spirit is alert, and her decisions are guided by wisdom that sees through his disguises. That's why isolation can feel like a battle, because the enemy knows that if you endure this season, you will come out too sharp to be tricked by his old tactics. So if you find yourself in a place where the phone is silent, the invitations have stopped, a room feels empty, don't panic, lean into it. Listen, pay attention to the shifts in your spirit. Journal what you're sensing. Pray for clarity. Ask for wisdom. Use the time to examine your relationships, your commitments, and your direction. This is your sharpening ground. When you emerge from this season, you will walk with a confidence that doesn't need constant confirmation. You will navigate conversations without being swayed by sweet words. You will recognize manipulation before it reaches you. You will sense alignment when it's real and discern counterfeit when it's near. Isolation is not the enemy of your destiny. It's the classroom where your destiny is taught. And when you graduate from this season, you won't just be wiser, you'll be unstoppable. Because a woman whose discernment has been sharpened in isolation is a woman who cannot be blinded, baited, broken. If you'd like, I can now expand. She returns different in the same high impact style so the full series reads like a complete, powerful speech from beginning to end. Would you like me to go ahead with that? There is a kind of solitude that is not empty. It is full, a place where silence is not loneliness, but intimacy. Space where the absence of people is not the absence of love, but the presence of the one who is love itself. This is the sacred reality of being alone with God. In a noisy, fast-moving world, people often run from being alone. They fill every moment with conversation, entertainment, distraction, because they fear what they might hear in the quiet. But when a woman learns the beauty and power of being alone with God, she stops running from solitude and starts running toward it. Being alone with God is not about isolation from life. It's about insulation from distraction. It is the intentional setting aside of time, space, and mental clutter to hear his voice more clearly. It is shutting the door on everything else so you can open your heart fully to him. It is choosing to step out of the constant noise of human voices so you can hear the steady, unchanging voice of the one who made you. Alone with God, masks come off. You don't have to perform. You don't have to impress. You don't have to pretend you're stronger than you are. You can bring him your tears, your fears, your questions, and your wariness. You can pour out your heart without worrying about judgment or misunderstanding. And in return, he pours back peace, wisdom, and strength that cannot be shaken by the world. In these moments, God reveals things that are too delicate to be spoken in a crowd. There are instructions that can't be delivered in the middle of chaos. There are visions and dreams that need a still space to take root. Alone with God, you begin to receive strategies, directions, and confirmations that no one else could give you because no one else knows your calling like he does. Many of the most powerful encounters in Scripture happened when people were alone with God. Moses on the mountain, Elijah in the cave, Jacob wrestling through the night, Jesus withdrawing to pray in the wilderness. Great things happen in the hidden place because the hidden place is where intimacy deepens, and intimacy is the birthplace of power. When you are alone with God, You learn to recognize his voice apart from all others. This is critical because life will throw you into moments when you have to make decisions quickly. Crowd is shouting one thing, but the Spirit is whispering another. If you have not trained your ear in the quiet, you will not recognize his whisper in the noise. Alone with God, you also gain perspective. The problems that felt overwhelming in the company of others suddenly seem smaller in his presence. The offense that had you ready to react loses its power when you see it from his point of view. The anxiety that was pressing in on you melts when his peace fills the room. This is why time with God is not a luxury. It is a necessity. The enemy fears a woman who knows how to be alone with God. He fears her because she is not dependent on the approval, validation, or guidance of people. She gets her orders directly from the throne room. She is refreshed and restored in a way that no human can manipulate. Her strength doesn't come from the crowd, so the crowd can't take it away. There is also a refining that happens when you are alone with God. In his presence, he will lovingly confront the parts of you that need to change, not to condemn you, but to make you stronger. He will show you the attitudes, habits, and mindsets that are holding you back. He will expose lies you believed so he can replace them with truth. Alone with God is where you get your identity back. Out in the world, labels get thrown at you: too much, not enough, too loud, too quiet, too strong, too weak. But in his presence, all those false labels fall off. He reminds you of who you were before the world tried to define you. He calls you by your true name, the one he wrote in his book before you took your first breath. This sacred solitude also prepares you for seasons of public impact. Too many people want the stage without the secret place. They want influence without intimacy. But real authority is birthed in private. When you've been alone with God, you walk into public assignments with a confidence that doesn't come from self, but from him. You're not performing. You're carrying something you received in the quiet. Being alone with God also teaches you to depend on him in a way that community alone cannot. Yes, we are called to fellowship and support one another. There are places only God can meet you. There are burdens only he can carry. There are wounds only he can heal. There are questions only he can answer. When you learn to go to him first, you stop putting pressure on people to be what only God can be. Sometimes God will intentionally create space between you and others so that you will come to him. This can feel like rejection at first. It's actually redirection. He knows that if he can get you alone, he can speak to you without interference. He can break you free from unhealthy attachments. He can realign your priorities. And when you come out of that alone time, you'll be ready for the relationships and assignments he has prepared for you. Alone with God is also where you get filled. Out there, life will drain you. People will pull on you. Challenges will wear you down. But in his presence, you are replenished. He pours into your spirit so you can pour out again without running dry. He reminds you that you are not working in your own strength, but in his. If you make being alone with God a habit, you will carry his presence into every room you enter. People will sense something different about you even before you speak. You will respond differently to pressure, walk differently in storms, lead differently in challenges because you've been with him. And here's the truth. Time alone with God is never wasted. May feel unproductive to the world, but it is the most productive thing you can do for your soul, your assignment, and your destiny. It is the foundation that everything else rests on. Without it, you are building on sand. With it, you are building on rock. So make it your priority. Guard it. For it, set aside moments when you turn off the phone, close the door, and just be with him. Let him speak. Let him restore. Let him strengthen. Because a woman who knows how to be alone with God is a woman who can face anything and win.